The FBI agent stood in his doorway at 6 a.m., and the billionaire realized he didn't even know his own bank password anymore. The woman he'd given everything to had rewritten his entire financial life while he slept beside her. Fraud, money laundering, a fake nonprofit bearing his name, and every digital fingerprint pointed straight to him. A self-made mogul worth $847 million woke up one morning accused of crimes he didn't commit. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you stopped watching your own back? Have you handed over passwords, bank details, or control to someone who promised they'd protect you? This isn't just about money, it's about how predators disguise themselves as soulmates. What he discovers about her will make you check your own relationships twice. If you've ever ignored red flags because love felt too good, this story will haunt you. Drop yes or never again in the comments. But to understand how Logan lost everything, we need to go back to where it started, a rooftop in New York City where she smiled at him like salvation. Right now, Logan sits in a cheap motel off Highway 71 in Texas. The room smells like old cigarettes and broken dreams. His Armani suit, the one he wore to close a $40 million deal 3 months ago, hangs wrinkled on a plastic chair. His phone won't stop buzzing with calls from reporters, lawyers, people who used to call him sir, and now call him fraud. He can still smell her perfume on his collar, jasmine and lies. He remembers how her fingers traced his jawline that first night, soft and deliberate, like she was memorizing him. Or maybe she was just calculating his worth. 6 months earlier, he sat across from her under string lights and Manhattan stars, watching her laugh at his jokes about real estate markets. "You're different," she said, reaching across the table. "You're real." He had no idea that every word from her mouth was a lie, including her name. Before he became the man everyone wanted to destroy, he was just a kid from Newark who promised his dying mother he'd never be poor again. The Newark apartment had paper-thin walls that broadcast every neighbor's argument and every landlord's threat. He'd fall asleep counting the water stains on the ceiling, each one a reminder of what happened when you had no control, no money, no power. His mother worked the morning shift at a diner on Broad Street and the evening shift cleaning offices in Manhattan. She'd come home at midnight smelling like pine sol and exhaustion, counting tips on their kitchen table that wobbled on 3 good legs. When Logan was 15, he started taking the train into Manhattan, lying about his age to get work moving furniture, delivering packages, anything that paid cash. He'd watch men in suits walk past him like he was invisible, and he promised himself he'd become one of them. Someone who mattered, someone people noticed. 20 years later, he built tech companies in Austin, flipped properties in Nevada and Arizona, owned a glass house in Miami that cost more than his entire childhood neighborhood. But with every dollar earned, he built walls higher. No close friends, relationships that lasted months, never years. Women who wanted the penthouse, not the boy from Newark. Have you ever built walls so high to protect yourself that you forgot how to let anyone in? Comment below if success ever made you lonelier. For 20 years, those walls kept him safe until a woman at a Seattle conference asked him one question that cracked them wide open. "Who were you before all of this?" She didn't ask about his portfolio or his properties, she asked about the boy from Newark, and that's when he started falling. The Seattle rain drummed against the conference center windows as she leaned forward, eyes locked on his, listening like every word mattered. No phone checks, no glances at other tables. Just presence, something he'd forgotten could exist. Logan had just finished speaking on a panel about real estate investment strategies when she approached him during the networking break. Adriana, dark hair pulled back, simple black dress, no jewelry except small silver earrings. She introduced herself as a charity consultant from Chicago, working with nonprofits focused on housing access. "That story you told about growing up in Newark," she said, "that's the real you. Not the suits and the deals." They grabbed coffee. Coffee turned into dinner at a quiet restaurant near Pike Place Market. Dinner turned into a walk through the rain-soaked streets, sharing an umbrella that forced them close. When their hands brushed reaching for the same coffee cup earlier, electricity shot through him. Her laugh, was it genuine or practiced? Made him want to hear it again and again. "Most people want to know what you own," she said softly. "I want to know what you've survived." And just like that, he wanted to tell her everything. The goodnight hug lasted 3 seconds too long. He felt her heartbeat against his chest. Or maybe it was his own heart, racing for the first time in years. When was the last time someone asked about your scars instead of your success? Tag someone who truly sees you. When she texted him 2 days later, "Coffee in Chicago next week," he cleared his entire schedule. He told himself it was just interest. He had no clue it was an investment. He flew to Chicago thinking it was just another date. She'd been planning this moment for 3 months. Adriana met him at O'Hare wearing jeans and a leather jacket, somehow more beautiful in casual clothes than the women he'd dated who spent hours getting ready. She drove him through neighborhoods on the south side, showing him the community centers where her nonprofit supposedly worked. Everything looked real. The buildings, the people, the passion in her voice when she talked about helping families avoid foreclosure. "My parents died in a house fire when I was 19, she said, eyes distant. "They didn't have insurance, lost everything. That's why this work matters to me." He reached for her hand. She let him take it. Lake Michigan stretched dark and endless under the night sky, city lights reflecting like scattered gold coins on black water. She leaned into him, her body warm against the October cold, and whispered, "I've never met anyone like you." The lie tasted like truth when she said it. Back at her apartment, modest, lived in, exactly what a nonprofit worker would have, she poured wine with slightly shaking hands. "I don't usually do this," she said. Another lie. But he believed it. He felt exposed in ways that had nothing to do with bodies. She watched him with an intensity that felt like worship. "I see you," she breathed between kisses. "All of you." He didn't realize she was cataloging every weakness, every soft spot, every place he could be hurt. They moved to her bedroom. She guided everything, learning his preferences, noting what made him sigh, what made him vulnerable. Have you ever felt more vulnerable during intimacy than you expected? When emotional exposure felt riskier than physical? Share your thoughts below. As he drifted to sleep in her bed, her phone lit up on the nightstand, a message from someone named K, Phase 1 complete. He didn't see it, but the camera she'd positioned on the bookshelf captured them. Within 2 months, she wasn't just in his life, she was reorganizing it, and he thanked her for it. His Miami glasshouse transformed under her touch, fresh flowers on Monday mornings, his favorite meals waiting after long flights, her presence filling spaces that used to echo with expensive emptiness. The home he built as a fortress became a place he actually wanted to return to. "You should set up a joint account," she suggested one morning over coffee. "For household stuff. Makes everything easier." It made sense. She was practically living there anyway. "Let me add myself to your calendar," she said another day. "I can coordinate with your assistant, make sure you're not double booked." Thoughtful, helpful. He gave her access without thinking twice. When she mentioned her nonprofit needed funding to expand their housing program, he wrote a check for $50,000 without hesitation. She introduced him to her board members via video calls, professional people with impressive backgrounds. Everything checked out, or seemed to. "You work too hard," she murmured one afternoon, closing his laptop during a financial review. "Let me handle the boring stuff. You focus on what you do best, building empires." Her fingers traced patterns on his chest. He never reopened that file. She'd initiate intimacy during important phone calls, distracting him with her mouth, her hands, her body. Power play disguised as playfulness. He'd hang up early, paperwork forgotten, pulled into her orbit completely. His longtime attorney called about a property transfer that seemed odd. Adriana smoothly explained it was for tax purposes, suggested the attorney was old-fashioned and didn't understand modern asset protection. Logan sided with her. The attorney had worked with him for 15 years. Adriana had been in his life for 10 weeks. But somehow, she won. Has a partner ever made your life easier in ways that later felt too convenient? When did help become control? When his accountant called about unusual wire transfers, Adriana answered his phone. "I'll handle it, baby," she said, already deleting the voicemail. "You have that Austin meeting." He kissed her forehead, grateful. Blind. The best predators don't drag you away from your people, they convince you to walk away yourself. It started small. Comments over breakfast. Observations that sounded like concern. "James seemed off yesterday," Adriana said one morning, pouring his coffee. "Did you notice how interested he was in our foundation plans? Almost too interested." Logan hadn't noticed, but now that she mentioned it. "And Michelle," Adriana continued another day, voice careful. "I don't want to cause problems, but I saw her having drinks with someone from Davidson Corp. Isn't that your biggest competitor?" The contact list on his phone got shorter each month. James deleted after Adriana mentioned seeing him, too friendly, with a competitor. Michelle blocked after Adriana cried about her judgmental energy. By spring, the only person who called regularly was the woman who convinced him everyone else was the problem. His mentor of 15 years called to check in. Logan mentioned it to Adriana that night. "He's holding you back," she said quietly. "You've outgrown him. Can't you see that?" Logan hesitated. "He's been there since Austin. Since I had nothing." She straddled him on the couch, hands framing his face. "I'm the only one who truly has your back," she whispered, moving against him slowly. "Everyone else wants something from you. I just want you." His protests dissolved into sighs. Later, he'd call his mentor to say goodbye. "They're jealous of what we have," she said another night, voice soft with manufactured hurt. "They want you alone and miserable like they are. Is that what you want?" He pulled her closer, promising he'd always choose her. "Have you ever lost yourself in a relationship? Woken up one day and barely recognized your own life? Comment if you've been there." His sister called from New Jersey, last attempt to reach him. Adriana answered. "He's busy. Don't call again." Then she blocked the number, slipped back into bed beside him, and smiled in the dark. Almost done. He signed papers between flights, between meetings, between kisses, never realizing each signature was a shovel of dirt on his own grave. The jet touched down in Los Angeles at midnight, his third city that day. She waited in the car, documents on her lap, pen ready. "Just 2 signatures, baby. The foundation can't move forward without them." His hand cramped from exhaustion. He didn't read past the header. She made it easy. Documents appeared when he was tired, stressed, distracted. between conference calls, during dinner, in bed after they'd made love, his mind foggy with satisfaction. Sign here, she'd say, kissing his neck. And here, he'd comply. She'd reward him. Touch, attention, her body against his. The pattern repeated until signing became automatic. Pavlovian, she'd present papers, he'd sign, she'd make him feel good. Simple. His business partner called one afternoon, voice tight with concern. Logan, this property transfer doesn't make sense. Let me review it before you. You questioning my judgment? Logan snapped. Adriana had warned him this would happen. That people would try to interfere. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. Maybe I need a new partner. The call ended badly. By evening, the partnership was dissolved. Adriana consoled him in the bedroom, documents forgotten on the nightstand. Forgotten, but signed. When have you signed something without reading it because you trusted the person holding the pen? How much faith is too much? The final document granted her full access to his primary account's $200 million liquid assets. As he slept that night, satisfied and unaware, she initiated the first major transfer. In the Cayman Islands, an account bearing a different woman's name received the deposit. The woman who didn't exist. The woman named Adriana. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday morning when his card declined for coffee. A billionaire couldn't buy a $6 latte. The coffee shop barista looked at him with pity when the card reader blinked red. Try another one? Logan pulled out 3 more cards. Declined, declined, declined. Across the street, his $200,000 car sat in morning sun, mocking him with its uselessness. He called his bank from the parking lot. The woman on the phone sounded confused. Mr. Hayes, we've been trying to reach you about unusual activity. Large transfers to offshore accounts. Didn't you authorize? What transfers? Sir, the documents we have show your signature and your partner's authorization. Ms. Chen has been very helpful coordinating. Logan's stomach dropped. Put a freeze on everything. Now, back home, Adriana was waiting. System glitch, she said smoothly when he confronted her. The bank's been having issues all week. I'll call them. I already called them. Something flickered across her face. Fear? Anger? It vanished before he could name it. Then it's handled, she said, moving closer. Why are you so tense? She pushed him against the bedroom wall, urgent and hungry. You don't trust me? She challenged, eyes fierce. After everything? Her desperation read as passion. He mistook fear of exposure for fear of losing him. I trust you, he gasped. One more lie between them. But later, when she took a phone call in the other room, he checked an old account from a device she didn't know about. $15 million. Gone. Investment opportunities, she explained when he asked. High yield, short term. You'll thank me when it doubles. At what point do you stop making excuses for someone? When does love become liability? Tell me in the comments. He wanted to believe her. God, he wanted to believe. But that night, when she fell asleep first, he did something he swore he'd never do. He went through her phone. What he found made his blood stop. Messages to K, R, and M. Coordinates, account numbers, and 5 other names, 5 other men, 5 other marks. She wasn't his soulmate, she was his assignment, and he was her best work yet. The phone glowed in the dark bathroom where he locked himself, scrolling through months of messages that rewrote his entire relationship. Every sweet word had been scripted. Every vulnerable moment had been strategy. The woman he loved didn't exist, she never had. K. Target secured? Adriana. Hook set. He's talking marriage. K. Timeline? Adriana. 3 months max. He's easier than the last one. There were photos, screenshots of bank statements, notes about his routines, his preferences, his fears. Mention his mother, one note read. Gets emotional, drops guard. 5 other men in the message history. Wealthy, isolated, destroyed. Logan's hands shook so hard he nearly dropped the phone. Shocked, denial, rage, grief, all of it hitting at once, drowning him in the tiny bathroom while she slept peacefully in his bed. Morning came too fast. She woke, stretched, smiled at him like always. Morning, baby. Morning, he said. Her touch felt like poison now, each kiss a transaction he finally recognized. She moaned his name, or was it even his name she was thinking? How many others had she performed this same script for? He went through the motions, kissed her back, pretended nothing had changed, because he needed time, evidence, proof that would hold up when everything collapsed. While she showered, he contacted a private investigator his old attorney had recommended. Sent screenshots, begged for speed. The PI called back within hours. She's wanted in 3 states. Real name's Kate Morrison, career criminal, and that nonprofit? Completely fake. No registered charity, no board, nothing. How do you face someone when you know the truth but they don't know you know? Have you ever had to pretend everything was normal while planning your escape? He had 72 hours before she'd realize he was onto her. 72 hours to build a case, contact authorities, protect what little remained. But when he returned to bed, she stirred, reached for him, whispered, I love you. And despite everything, some broken part of him still wanted it to be true. The FBI arrived before he could, and suddenly, he was the criminal in handcuffs, not her. Dawn broke over Miami in shades of pink and gold. Logan was already awake, gathering evidence, preparing to contact federal authorities. Then he heard it: car doors, multiple vehicles, heavy footsteps on the driveway. FBI. Open the door. Cold metal bit into his wrists as agents read him rights in his own foyer. Through the window, neighbors filmed with phones. News vans already circled like sharks. And Adriana, perfect, crying Adriana, told investigators she had no idea what he'd been doing. He controlled everything, she sobbed to agents, mascara running beautifully. I trusted him completely. He said the foundation was legitimate. The same voice that whispered promises in the dark now delivered his destruction in daylight. Logan tried to speak, to explain, but the evidence against him was perfect. His signatures, his accounts, his properties, every document traced back to him, never to her. She'd used shell companies, burner phones, fake identities. A ghost leaving him holding all the blame. The lead agent found the camera in the bedroom. Logan's stomach turned. Every intimate moment, every vulnerable confession, every time they'd made love, all recorded. Not for memory, for insurance. Every time she'd touched him, every position she'd suggested, every location she'd chosen, all calculated for maximum documentation. Intimacy as evidence, love as leverage. She's the victim here, one agent said, reviewing the footage. And you exploited her trust to commit fraud. Logan wanted to scream, to fight, but his isolation worked against him now. No friends to vouch for him. No family to call. No business partners left to testify to his character. She'd stripped him of everyone who might believe his story. Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? When your truth sounds less believable than someone else's lie, share your experience below. As they led him to the car, she met his eyes one final time. No love, no regret, just cold calculation and something worse, satisfaction. He'd been so easy, and she was already planning her next mark. From penthouse to county jail in 6 hours, that's how fast a life can detonate when you trust the wrong person. The holding cell smelled like desperation and industrial cleaner. Through concrete walls, he heard other men's phone calls to people who'd accept the charges. He had no one to call. She'd made sure of that. Bail was set at $5 million. His accounts were frozen, every asset seized pending investigation. Outside, news crews camped at the courthouse steps. Billionaire fraud scheme, fake charity mastermind, tech mogul faces 40 years. His face on every screen, every headline, every social media feed. His sister wouldn't answer. His old friends probably didn't know he'd been arrested. He'd cut them all off months ago. The family he'd built his fortune to protect now believed he was a criminal. Logan sat on the metal bench, head in his hands. His body remembered Adriana's touch even as his mind tried to reject it. The way she'd kiss his neck, how her hands felt in his hair. Physical memory doesn't care about betrayal. It just remembers pleasure, even when pleasure was poison. A man in the next cell spoke up. Woman? Logan nodded. Con artist got me 3 years ago. Took everything. I wanted to die for months. The man's voice was rough but kind. Stop thinking about who she was. Focus on who you need to become. Something shifted in Logan's chest. Not hope exactly, but maybe the beginning of fight. When everything you built collapses, what's left? Who are you without the money, the reputation, the life you knew? Comment your thoughts. His public defender arrived with news. Adriana had disappeared. 3 other victims had come forward, and Logan's trial would be national news. But she'd made one mistake, one tiny, arrogant mistake, and if he could find it, maybe he could prove the truth before she destroyed someone else. A man with nothing left has nothing left to lose, and that makes him dangerous in ways money never could. Logan posted bail using his last untouched asset, a small property in Nevada Adriana didn't know about. The public defender was overworked and underpaid, so Logan hired a specialist, Rachel Torres, an attorney who'd built her career prosecuting fraud cases. You're not my first billionaire victim, she said at their first meeting. Rich men make the best targets. Too proud to admit they've been played. I'm admitting it now. Good. That's where we start. The motel room in Texas became war room, walls covered with printed messages, timelines, photos of her other identities. The man who used to close deals in glass towers now hunted truth in cheap rooms with coffee and rage for fuel. Rachel's private investigator, Chen, located 3 other victims. All wealthy, all isolated, all destroyed, and all carrying the same shame Logan felt. The videos were hardest to watch. Chen's forensics team had recovered footage from Adriana's devices. There she was with a real estate developer in Phoenix, a venture capitalist in Boston, a retired athlete in Dallas, performing the same moves, same expressions, same words with 3 different men. He thought her breathless, "I've never felt this way," was sacred. It was script. She'd even worn the same lingerie. Kate Morrison, Chen said, sliding a file across the table. Real name, 38 years old, wanted in California, Nevada, and Illinois. Her network includes at least 4 accomplices, including the man she introduces as her brother. He's actually her boyfriend and partner. 1 victim. The developer from Phoenix agreed to testify. He tracked her for 2 years after she destroyed him. She's not invincible, Rachel said, spreading files across the table. She's just experienced. But experience makes you cocky, and cocky people get sloppy. When have you had to fight for your truth against a perfect liar? What gave you strength when everyone doubted you? The PI called at midnight. She's in San Diego with a new Target Tech CEO, recently divorced, lonely. We've got 72 hours before she ghosts again. Logan booked the first flight out. This time, he'd be the one with the plan. He'd been her prey once now. She was about to learn what happens when wounded animals learn to hunt. San Diego's sun glinted off harbor water as he watched her through restaurant windows, laughing with another man who looked at her like she was saving his life. The same restaurants, same script, same lies. But this time, federal agents watched too and her phone was tapped. The new victim's name was David Chen, no relation to Logan's investigator. Tech CEO, recently divorced, worth about $300 million. Adriana had been working him for 6 weeks. Logan made contact through David's attorney, explained everything, showed him the evidence. David's face went white. She told me she loved me yesterday, David whispered. She told me that too, Logan said. She'll tell the next one the same thing. The FBI agent handling the case fast-forwarded through bedroom audio recordings. Same pattern every time, she said clinically. But Logan couldn't unhear Adriana's voice promising forever to someone else, performing the same intimacy that had once destroyed him. The trap was simple. David would ask Adriana to help transfer funds for a time-sensitive investment opportunity. If she took the bait, they'd have her on wire fraud with multiple federal witnesses. 2 days later, David made the request. Adriana didn't hesitate. Of course, baby, let me handle it. She initiated the transfer from his account to one of her shells. Federal agents traced it in real time. When she left the bank, Logan stepped out of the shadows. Hello, Kate. Her face went blank, then cold. Recognition, calculation, fear. She ran. FBI agents moved in from 3 directions. She was cornered in an alley behind the harbor, trapped like she'd trapped so many others. If you could face the person who destroyed you, what would you say? Rage or silence? Revenge or justice? She smiled, actually smiled like this was all a game she was still winning. You'll never prove anything, Logan. I'm a ghost. Then the FBI moved in, and her smile finally cracked. But her last words froze his blood. I wasn't working alone. And they're going to finish what I started. Justice isn't clean or quick, it's months of testimony, evidence, and watching the person who destroyed you lie under oath. The courtroom felt smaller than his old boardroom but infinitely more important. Every seat filled with press, victims, investigators. And her sitting at the defense table in conservative clothing, playing victim one final time. Kate Morrison, no longer Adriana Chen, maintained her innocence. Her defense painted Logan as a controlling abuser who manipulated her into helping with his schemes. They showed the bedroom videos not as evidence of her con, but as proof of his dominance. He was obsessed with me, she testified, tears streaming. I was afraid to say no. Logan sat through it. Every lie, every twisted version of their relationship, every intimate moment displayed for strangers to judge. Then the prosecution presented their case. 4 other victims testified, all telling the same story. Same tactics, same words, same destruction. They played audio of her whispering love in his ear, then cut to her doing the same with 4 other men. The jury's faces showed disgust. His showed grief. Some betrayals you survive, others just change shape. The forensic accountant traced money through shell companies across 6 countries. Digital forensics recovered deleted messages showing the entire operation. Plans, targets, strategies. Her accomplice, the fake brother, real boyfriend, took a plea deal and testified against her. Described the whole system, how they'd choose victims, how they'd build false identities, how they'd disappear when the money ran out. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty, all counts. 15-year federal sentence. Restitution ordered, but most money was gone, hidden in accounts they'd never find. Is legal justice enough when someone steals your ability to trust? What's the real cost of betrayal beyond money? As marshals led her away, she turned one last time. No tears, no remorse. Just 3 words mouthed across the courtroom. Worth it, baby. He realized then that closure was a myth. Some wounds don't heal, you just learn to carry them differently. He lost $600 million, his reputation, 2 years of his life, and found out who he actually was without any of it. The apartment in Austin wasn't the Miami glasshouse, it was smaller, warmer, filled with books instead of expensive art. Through the window, Texas sun painted ordinary streets gold. He'd never felt richer. His sister came back first. Then a few old friends who'd heard the full story. His business partner reached out, they rebuilt their relationship slowly, carefully. Trust earned in inches, not miles. Therapy helped, twice a week at first, then once. Learning to separate real connection from manipulation. Understanding why he'd been vulnerable. Forgiving himself for being human. Logan started a consulting business helping fraud victims navigate recovery. Smaller income, bigger purpose. He met Rebecca at a fraud prevention conference where he was speaking. She knew his story, everyone did, but she didn't treat him like damaged goods. Coffee? She asked after his talk. At the cafe, when she reached for his hand across the table, he didn't pull away. When she asked about his past, he told the truth. When she suggested coffee at her place next time, he said yes but added, "I need to take things slow." She smiled. Slow is good. Slow is real. The boy from Newark who promised he'd never be poor again learned poverty isn't about bank accounts, it's about who's left when the money's gone. He'd been rich and completely bankrupt. Now he was rebuilding with something fraud can't touch: hard-earned wisdom and real connection. What would you do if betrayal broke you completely? Would you rebuild? Would you trust again? What's your never again that actually changed you? Share your truth below. If this story made you think twice about who you trust, smash that like button. Subscribe for more real stories about survival, betrayal, and the strength it takes to start over. Comment which chapter hit you hardest: the fall, the fight, or the rebuilding. And remember, the best revenge isn't destruction, it's becoming someone they can never touch again. Drop a comment if you believe in second chances earned through hard lessons.